Let's talk systems. Let's talk about creating systems that work for your life, your career, or your business. Let's talk systems. Systems that'll work for your life, your career, your business, all of that. Systems that work even when life gets busy. We're in a new month. We're in the month of April. We're in a new quarter. And we've been going through and we've been talking through and you've been doing this work, but yet and still we're at this point and we're at this place to where you need to check in with yourself and say like, can you keep doing what you've been doing, or is it actually time to ask for help? Are you going to keep showing up in the way that you've been showing up, or is it time to say that no, I can't do it alone? Either is okay. But really it comes down to what's going to be the best thing for you. Because maybe you realize and maybe you see that this isn't the time. This isn't the time to keep fighting yourself, keep fighting the progress. We're 90 days into the year. And what? What are we doing? Where are we at? I want you to understand that overwhelm, burnout, and stress don't have to be your portion. They shouldn't be your portion. And so throughout the course of this month, I want you to realize, and my goal is to help you to see and realize that time is not your problem. You think that time is your problem, but I want to show you what the actual problem is. And in order to do that, we're going to kick off today with talking about you being inconsistent and the fact that you're not actually inconsistent. Because to be consistent is to do. We do a whole bunch each and every day. But are you doing things that are beneficial, that are productive, that are conducive to the life that you say that you actually want? So today we're going to dive in and we're going to talk about you're not inconsistent. You just don't have systems for your life. And you hear the word systems and you like, I don't know. But think of a system as nothing more than a routine, as structure, as a to-do list, as a checklist, as the way in which you progress through any given section of your day, of your life. And so you keep falling off. You keep starting and stopping. And you're not actually getting to the end result or making significant enough progress that motivates you enough or drives you enough to keep going, to keep moving, and to keep doing. You think that inconsistency is the problem. It's not. You're consistently stopping. You're consistently stopping. You're consistently not making it through. So, see, you are consistent. You've been consistent, but you haven't been consistently doing the things that's going to actually help you move forward, that's going to actually help you to progress. So let's talk about it. Let's look at consistency and let's talk about consistency. You might currently think that consistency is about discipline. And if that's what you feel, if that's what you think, let me know. You think that consistency requires you to be disciplined. We've talked about motivation and we probably going to continue to talk about motivation, and you think that you need to be motivated. We have to do hard things. And doing hard things isn't always going to be, most of the time, doing hard things isn't going to be easy, and doing hard things isn't about feeling like doing it. I'm finally home for the first time in basically 2 weeks. I was home last Saturday for about 24 hours, and then I was gone again for a week. And so when I came home, I had literally a trunk full of stuff because I had work stuff. I had the stuff that I used when I was at my coworker's house. And then I had like my lunchbox. I had my travel stuff from the last 5 days of traveling. And I came home and I'm like, not only do I have to unload this trunk and get all this stuff in the house and get this unpacked and decluttered, but I also need to actually prep for the week ahead. I took some food out that I had pre-prepped that was frozen in the freezer to start defrosting so that I can at least have lunch and dinner. I probably have to figure out some breakfast. I need to actually check. I think my intermittent fasting windows, I wouldn't eat breakfast, but I digress. But I have to start getting things together. Like I've started my brain up and my to-do list to get myself together. Do I feel like doing this? Not necessarily. I literally wanted to sit on the couch and like take a nap or go to sleep or just relax. I did sit on the couch and watch some TV, but in the course of that, I was like, let me at least pull out a piece of paper and start this list. so that I can show up. And so you're thinking that you need to be disciplined enough to do this. And in some regards, you actually do. But really, consistency isn't about discipline as the whole or as this big overarching thing that you're looking at discipline as currently. Discipline really comes down to what have you created? What have you designed? Because you have to really be willing to show up, to sometimes shut up, to like put up and shut up and do this actual work. And so when you're really thinking about what do I need to do, like, let's look at it this way. You're waiting to feel motivated. Motivation is not reliable because if you wait to feel motivated, you're just sitting around waiting. And as you're sitting around waiting, time is continuing to pass, which goes to the ultimate overarching issue of you think it's time that's the problem. But how much time are you wasting waiting to start? And that's why it really comes back to this idea and the thought that we can't wait for motivation. Yes, it does come to discipline in some regard, but the consistency part isn't about being disciplined. If you wait to feel ready, to feel motivated, to see what the day is going to bring, you're never going to get anything done. And because of that, you're then, as a result, not consistent. And because you were waiting for it, you were waiting for the motivation, you didn't get anything done, so therefore you weren't consistent. And you're thinking that consistency has to go with discipline. But consistency is really just about starting. Because if you don't decide what type of day you're going to have, or for example, me, I came home, or really on the plane, on the drive home, I was deciding what was I going to do when I got home. Looking at the time and kind of guesstimating, okay, I should get home about this time. What am I doing when I get home? I pre-decided before I parked in that garage and walked in this house, what was I going to do? Now, I'm not really sure how long each of these things is going to take, but I know what needs to get done. So I've pre-decided that at the very least, I'm prepping for the week. So getting this car unloaded, getting these clothes picked out for the week, figuring out food so that I can get back into my routine. Because we're waking up at 2:30 in the morning again. We're right back into it. And so this isn't because I feel like it. It's because I've decided that this is what I want. Which is where, in some sense, the discipline aspect can go into place with consistency, but the consistency shows up first before that discipline does, if that makes sense. And that's why you have to pre-decide. Because in pre-deciding, you're being disciplined. Like, in pre-deciding, you're saying, like, I don't care what I feel like. I'm doing this. It's a non-negotiable. There's no question about it. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. And so if you don't rise to the intention that you're setting, like pre-deciding, then you're going to fall to, I can't really even call it structure. You're going to fall to the whims of the day, the whims of life. And so you waiting for motivation, you waiting to feel ready isn't what you need. We have to look at the big picture and say, look, this has to get done. What are you identifying, i.e., what are you pre-deciding that this has to get done today, this week, this month? We're at the top of a new month. We're at the top of a new quarter. We're 5 days in, but nonetheless, this is the first full week of this month, of this quarter. Have you pre-decided what this month and this quarter is going to look like? Have you pre-decided what this week is going to look like? Because if you don't, you're just going to continue to fall. And in falling, in a sense, you're going to fail. But what I want you to understand and what I want you to look at in this failure is that to fail is your first attempt in learning. We're going to keep learning if we keep showing up and if we keep doing the work. But will you? Because if you're deciding that, I'm just going to go with these ebbs and flows of life, you're never going to get to where it is that you want to go. And that's why after you look at that and you can understand that consistency isn't necessarily about this motivation aspect. It might be a little bit about this discipline aspect, but it's about the life that you're designing. deciding, designing, as well as deciding. Because in pre-deciding that this is what you're showing up as, you're designing this life that you want. You're dictating what it's going to be. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. And that leads towards consistency, but that definitely falls away from the idea of waiting to feel ready of this motivation. You're deciding, and by deciding, you're designing the life that you want. And so once you can understand that, and once you can look at that, and you can really figure that out, you can start really diving deeper from there. And in doing that, that's where like these routines, these structures, these systems, these to-do lists, these checklists really comes into play. Because in having that viewpoint, in having that idea, you're then able to say that, okay, what am I doing? So this pre-decision, this decision and the pre-design that you're creating is ultimately going to be the thing that's going to help you when you want to be inconsistent. Because here's the thing. Inconsistency isn't what you're struggling with. You're struggling with the motivation. You're waiting to feel ready, and that's not going to work. Anytime there's a disruption in your day, you just fall apart. Anytime that things aren't going the way that you want them to go, you just fall apart. And we can't let that happen. Because again, if you let when one thing happens, throw away your whole day and you fall apart, that's where motivation is coming to play. Like, y'all, not only have I flown home, but let's talk about how I got to the airport. Realized I left my wallet at the hotel. So I had to Uber back to the hotel to get said wallet to come back to the airport. I walk in the airport, got my AirPods in because I'm listening to a podcast. It disconnects when I get in the airport. And so I'm like, I don't think the AirPod died, but it could have been here. I don't know if I charged it. I flip ears. It doesn't pick up. And I'm like, yep, pretty sure my iPhone, which is, I use it just for podcasting, but nonetheless, pretty sure that's in the back of the Uber. Because I had it in my backpack and the guy took my bag out and I think it unzipped because when I took the bag out and put it on my thing, I had to zip the top. Pretty sure it's driving around his trunk somewhere. Who knows? All of those could have been things that could have thrown off my entire day. But I was like, it is what it is. It is what it is. And so if you let these disruptions derail your entire day, do you think I'll probably be here talking to y'all like, it is what it is. Like, it's gone. I might get it back. I might not. Everything always works out for me, so I believe I'm going to get it back. But we're going to see. Time will tell. If I look at even the disruptions that led to me even being able to get to Atlanta, like I was in trial. Trial was supposed to end on Friday. It ended on Tuesday. That's 2 days that it was not supposed to be going. That disruption and that derailment caused me to have to make adjustments and shifts in my schedule. But did I let that keep me from showing up? No. So what are you allowing to derail your day, to derail your life, to derail your week, to keep you from showing up? Because your decisions that you're making leads to what it is that you're designing. And right now, you're consistently letting, when something doesn't go your way, throw off your entire day. And once you throw off your entire day, you're like, throw the whole week away. And once you throw the whole week away, you're like, you know what? Why did I even set goals in the first place? Why did I even say that I wanted to change? But what if we change that? What if we shift that? Because right now, you are consistently starting and stopping. You right now are consistently failing. But are you learning from the thing that you're failing in? Because failure can be a lesson if you actually learn from it. But right now, by you just starting and stopping, you're failing without the lesson. And so what are we going to do that's going to make this shift? What are we going to do that's going to make this change? In life, there's going to be derailments. The whole idea of this trial taking 2 extra days that it wasn't supposed to take could have made this whole plan, this whole thing collapse. Like, if the trial was going to Wednesday, I don't really know what they was going to do, but I was still planning on getting on my plane. So what does it look like for one disruption to not lead to this full derailment of your plan? What does it look like? How often are you letting one hitters cause you to quit? I.e., how often are you letting this derailment turn into the fact that I just quit it all. We got to stop doing that. Because you think that it's consistency, but you're consistently not following through. So you're consistent. Just not the things that's going to actually help you to get and to be the person that you want to be. You're not inconsistent. You just don't have a structure, a system, this routine that's going to help you to bounce back from failure, bounce back from a derailment. What's your bounce back plan? What's your plan B? Do you even have a plan A, first of all? But what is the plan? What are we doing? How are we showing up? You think that you live this no, you don't even think this. You're living this fragile life to where once there's one crack in the armor, once there's one thing that doesn't go the way you want, you just throw the whole thing away. So are we really throwing away whole cars now because we don't even have a flat tire? We have a slow leaking one. The tire pressure light came on. He was like, you know what? I don't even want the car no more. I don't even want the car no more. All the tire pressure said was that you just 3 or 4 PSIs off from the other one, but you got to throw the whole car away. That's what you're doing. You have these situations that are showing up, and they're not full blown, oh my God, everything is going wrong. It's a slight inconvenience, and you're just like, you know what, throw the whole car away. Throw the whole day away, throw the whole month away, throw the whole plan away. Why? Why are we going to such extremes? Because is it really that serious? We talk about these kids throwing temper tantrums because you peeled the apple that they asked you to peel, and now they're having a temper tantrum. But you're doing the same thing with your life. Your whole adults out here throwing temper tantrums. Why? Why? You don't, it's not that serious. It's really not. And neither is you thinking that you got to try harder. You don't have to try harder. As a matter of fact, I want you to take a step back and try less. Because right now you're throwing everything but the kitchen sink at the wall. And when all of it is, none of it's sticking because it's just falling and breaking, you're just banging on the floor louder and harder, and you just throw a bigger temper tantrum. No. Trying harder is absolutely not the answer. The only thing that you need to try harder to do is to follow through. If you want to try harder at something, try harder at following through. Try harder at sticking to the plan. Try harder at not being so derailed. Try harder at not letting one inconvenience throw the whole thing away. If you want to try harder, that's where you try harder at. But the reality is that you don't ultimately have to try harder. Yes, that trying harder will work. But what if we take a step back and we look at why do I keep quitting? Why do I keep giving up? Why do I keep throwing in the towel? If we take that step back instead of trying harder and we look at it from that lens, you can see and identify that, okay, something has to shift. Something has to change. What is it? Where in this process that you don't at this time realize is actually a process? Where in this chain of events do I keep falling off? Where in this chain of events do I find myself feeling, ugh? Where is it? Because what you need to understand is that the more structure that you have, the more responsibility that you have. And not in a negative way of responsibility. Because oftentimes we think about responsibility as more things on our to-do list. What I mean by this in this way is that the more structure that you have, it creates responsibility because it helps you to identify and to see what next. You keep falling off in the process. You keep falling off somewhere along this continuum. And once you can identify that, we can build structure that helps you to see and identify that, okay, if this is the weakest link, what can I do to strengthen and to reinforce this area so that it helps me to keep following through? So that I don't fall off, so that I don't quit when I get to this point. You have, right now, you're deciding a lot. And that's why the quickest thing to do is to stop. You get to the point of having decision fatigue. I understand it and I get it because I don't know the statistic. I probably should look it up at some point. But we make so many different decisions in any given day. And because of all these decisions that we have to make, from something little as what I want to eat to do I want to take my socks on or off? Am I cold or am I not? Do I need to adjust the temperature on the air or not? Do I want a snack? We make decisions all day, every day, from the small to the big. And so these little decisions that we make don't negate the big decisions that we have to make. And so once you're getting to these big decisions, that's when you just have to throw the whole thing away. Throw it away. I don't got time. And that's why every single week, every single month, without fail, you're finding yourself starting over. That's why right now the thing that you're consistent at is stopping. The thing that you're consistent at is starting. But the thing that you're not consistent at is finishing or following through. But it doesn't have to be that way. It doesn't. It doesn't. I guarantee you it doesn't. But what would that look like for it to not be that way? What would it look like for you to actually follow through, to finish, to be consistent in the follow through? What if you threw the whole current plan that you're working with away because it's not actually a plan? What if we can identify and see where literally on that continuum you're struggling, you're breaking, you're falling apart, and it's not working? What if you can identify what that was, like where that point is and why? And identifying why it is, creating something that fixes it. What would that mean for you? What would that look like for you? How would that best support you in life? Because if that sounds like something that you need, if that sounds like something that would help you to understand not only that it's not inconsistency or it's not a lack of consistency or I'm not being consistent, what if in doing and identifying that you then have a routine and a system and this checklist that helps you to move through? Move through the pivots, move through the shifts, move through the adjustments, What if instead of trying harder, we actually tried a little bit less by taking a step back, and instead of trying to do all the things, you just focus on one thing? What would it look like to identify, why do I keep getting stuck at this point, falling off and starting over, and I can never get past 3 or 2 or get off of go? Wherever it is you're stuck on a continuum, what would it look like to fix that? What would it feel like to fix that? Because if it would look like something being different, and if it would feel like you are finally making progress, I got you. I can help you to create systems that works for life, for your career, for your business. Systems that will work even when life gets busy, because right now, as soon as it gets busy, that's when you stop. Let's change that. Let's fix that. Let's break it down and rebuild it in a way that's going to actually work for you, no matter how busy life gets. That's what a productivity strategy session does for you. You can understand and we can create this schedule that you're able to use and utilize and pivot from and adjust from as you go through. Now look, if that's not something that you need, you comment the word time. Let's have a conversation. Let's get you scheduled and let's make it happen. Because this month of April, we're making change. We're in a new month and a new quarter, and we're not going to keep sitting here doing the same thing over and over that we've been doing without making change. Time isn't your problem. Your system or lack thereof is really what it comes down to. And that's why as we kick off this month, we really dove in and we talked about you're not inconsistent. Your life doesn't have a system. And so as we continue in this vein and continue in this conversation and continue moving through this month, stay tuned. I got you. I'm here to support you. I'm here to help you. If you got questions, drop them below. Reach out. Ask. Comment time to book your productivity strategy session. It's time to do work. New month, new quarter, new week. It's time. Go to your brain and make your to-do list, because I know I gotta go finish mine. It's time to set your week, your month, and this quarter up for success. It's been Coach Lee, your productivity and accountability coach, here for another Sunday. Happy Easter, by the way, for your Success Starter series. We'll be back next time, same place. Until next time, Coach Lee